Hi, hello.
Hello? Are we live? Okay, yeah, okay. I was looking at the wrong window. Hello.
Hello. I don't see us.
Welcome.
Oh, there we are live on your website. Gonna mute us before we start getting double stuff.
I was looking at the wrong. Usually I'm a lot better at that, but that's fine. We'll just keep forward, always forward. All right.
Yeah.
Uh, I am going to continue sneakily achieving an FO while we introduce ourselves and talk about tea. So I'm Sarah, also known as Imagine Landscapes.
And I'm Katie, also known as Roar 114. I'm gonna go first. I am drinking Saigon chai today.
I've never heard of that one. Is that
It's
new to you?
guess where it's from?
David's tea.
David's tea. And for the longest time, it was actually my go-to second mug. It was what I would have at work. And then I discovered the s'mores chai.
Right.
But every once in a while, like it's very spicy, and I love the intensity of it. So I wanted that today. What are you drinking?
Well, I'm doing my standard mixed David's tea with red rose.
Yes.
Stretch the tea as long as you can. So a couple of the David's tea lines are made with the kind of tea called pu'er, which is a black tea that will not go bitter on seconds soaks. And so what that means is I can reuse. So Reiner uses a full, he's like, Sarah. And so he goes full in on the just David's tea. But then
I agree with Reiner.
his
Yes,
tea.
keep going.
I snag his tea and I put my red rose in it. So this is hazelnut chocolate black tea.
Nice.
As good as you think it is.
The s'mores chai that I normally drink now as my second mug is also a pu'er, and I really just love the smokiness of pu'er. Goes so well with s'mores, right? It's kind of perfect. Hello to everybody who's saying hi from the chat. If you are drinking tea or a beverage, we'd love to hear what you're drinking.
So fun fact.
We usually tell, but we don't actually often think to ask. So since you're here live, let us know.
Fun fact, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, no, the day before yesterday, I do a thing where I update the clues every day in December for the mystery gnome pattern. And I have to write something to send the update. And a lot of times it's like, here's your links to the thing. I try to add like a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of personality, and especially on story days when I don't have a lot to talk about on story days. It's like, it's a story, go. I tend to be a little more like chatty random on those. And I just offhanded said, I'm sitting here with Nova and she's drinking her favorite tea, which is spiced plum tea. And I just threw that in there. And then someone popped up in the chat, I am also drinking spiced plum tea. And then someone else said, I too. And they were in different continents from different brands. So spiced plum tea is a thing. And
that's amazing.
I have actually emailed Reiner the link to the German company because he's going there for Christmas and he will be bringing it home.
I love what everybody is piping up with. We've got lemon ginger, coffee, decaf foggy London.
Peppermint candy from David's tea. I've really been having a peppermint chocolate craving this sort of festive season, and I have not yet indulged it. I need to have like a mint hot chocolate or something along those lines. Like it needs to be kind of melty, I feel like, to really, or like peppermint chocolate bark, when the crispy with the candy cane smashed right in.
Christine is drinking Glühwein and I am jealous.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I'm doing these days. I'm going to take my glasses off and then use the tip of my glasses to count my rows because I've realized that I can use this handily. So let's just go. You say a thing while I'm counting.
Bigger rows than I'm usually counting. My rows are usually so tiny. I'm like tippy 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 tip. My glasses would be way too blunt a point for mine.
Here's a bit of a sneak preview, but I've got some decent size going on here.
Oh yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. Creme brulee.
Oh. So someone's drinking creme brulee tea from New Zealand, by the way. For those of you watching afterwards and not live, this is why Katie and I just had a simultaneous tea moment together. Oh, excellent. So this is our theoretically a show and tell version of our normally an audio podcast, which we do every other week. This we do monthly, and we enjoy the chance to hold things up to the screen and also to each other, because it's such a different vibe than trying to describe things to a microphone.
Yeah, and just the next audio will be out this coming Wednesday. Usually drops at 2 a.m. Central on Wednesdays. You look confused. Yeah, because I schedule it. It's like, you look confused. We are recording on tomorrow, right?
Yes. I was just like, time is really difficult right now for me with the December Gnome. I work every day. I work almost all of every day.
Yeah.
So it gets a little like, there are days still.
Yeah, because you work from home.
4 days in.
Yeah, because you work from home, and because so much of your life is
online.
It's fairly like weekends don't necessarily have a big change for you, whereas I don't go into the office on weekends, so it's a little bit. Yeah, there is a marked difference. So I get that. Also, did you notice, Sarah? Since I know we need to actually talk about knitting, but since the last time we did this, I finally put art up in this room.
Oh, nice! I did not notice. Yeah, I was noticing the art, but not necessarily knowing that it was new.
Yeah, and then I've got, so these are paintings from people I know or used to know. And then I've got one of Dad's pictures over here, and it's also kind of stormy with the prairie goldens. But yes, knitting. Are we going to start with what we have finished?
Yes, I would like to do that. I would like you to go first.
All right. So I finished the Sarah cardigan.
We'll bounce back and forth, right?
Yeah, I know. I know in the podcast, we usually one of us just goes. And then on this, we usually bounce back and forth. I like the dynamic of this. So I finished the Sarah cardigan, Serra. I have worn it a couple of times, and I both love it and need to make some tweaks. Okay. So I'm going to roll backwards on my chair and then stand up and put this on. So this is made out of Knit Pick Swish worsted. Sarah cardigan is a seamless set-in sleeve, top-down pattern with some really interesting shaping around the shoulders. It has this lovely, it's hard to see against the gray shirt that I chose to wear today. Lovely big collar. So this is made to be a short-sleeved, like cap sleeve shirt, but I made long sleeves, obviously, and added really long cuffs, went down a size for the cuffs at Sarah's recommendation. And I have worn it to work once, and I think the way it's wearing right now, I feel like it's a little bit too loose for the professionalism I want on some days.
Yeah, it's definitely bigger than I expected it to be based on your other Sarah.
Yeah, well, the other one is cotton and linen. So the cotton and linen won't grow in the same way, right? But the biggest thing with this is how big this is. If I'm wearing a t-shirt, I can feel my arms against the side of my body, and that's not something I like. So you and I chatted, and we both had the idea this is a superwash wool, so I'm going to huck it in the dryer for a little bit. Yeah, you suggested that I get it damp first. I was thinking I'd just toss it in for 10 minutes.
That might work, but I would if you have a plant mister kind of spray bottle.
Oh yeah,
I would just just a little cat mister. Yeah, exactly. Just a little on the front, a little on the back, because adding that, I've sometimes thrown my superwash stuff in dry. But because yours is so big, I would say get it a little bit wet, because superwash is meant to get wet anyways.
That's true.
It was all wool because of sheep, being out in the rain. But they also have lanolin on it at that point. But
I do it's as soft as I want it to be. It's just, it feels a little sloppy when I wear it. Excuse me. It feels a little sloppy when I wear it. And that's not the vibe I want to go for with this sweater.
I definitely expected it to be more blazer based on your past ones. I'm really intrigued. Did you knit the same size?
No, I went up a size because I've gotten bigger, thanks to lots of not moving during the pandemic. I made the biggest possible size, but I think what I'm going to do next time is, like, I still think the way it fits in my chest, I still like the fronts of it. And I still feel like the back is probably mostly right. I might try to merge, depending on what happens with the dryer, I might try to merge a couple of sizes together and see what that does.
Right.
Because I think it would be possible, right? Because it's got very clear instructions for the two fronts, the arms, and the back. So honestly, one of the things, I know I'm not going to be home very long for Christmas this year. One of the things I want to do is sit down with you and the pattern and just kind of take a quick look and just double check that what I'm thinking of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we go on, I'm wearing an old sweater and I might as well talk about it. It is either September morn or February morn. And I can never remember what the pattern's called because I named my project one of those two. And I named it
the pattern is September morn because I've stocked this.
Okay. And I believe it's worsted. And I knit it out of a Knit Picks Superwash Swish, but in their Bear yarn. And I did modify it because in the original pattern, the ribbing only went to about like bottom of your bicep muscle.
Yeah.
And I found that look kind of like made the shoulders kind of football linebacker-y, as opposed to when I did this all the way down, like somehow that's a totally different line. And I mean, it makes totally sense. If a line goes vertical the whole way, or there's a horizontal cutoff, like that's a big difference in where our eye starts changing perspective on stuff.
I like how we're essentially wearing the same kind of style of shirt, which is very, very different, right?
Well, I love raglans. I love the fit. It works well with my boob size. So yeah, I love raglans. They are.
So
it
is really September morn. I have Googled it. I don't know if it's available off Rav, but it is certainly on Rav. I don't think
she publishes off Rav.
Yeah, so it's Baby Cocktails.
Oh, wait, no, wait. I think she does. I think it's your designer who doesn't publish off Rav for the Sarah.
Oh, whose name I forget. Yeah, I don't think
Sarah Ayler.
Yeah, I don't think Laura's making many patterns anymore.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure Baby Cocktails does publish off Rav, but I'm not positive. Yeah, so
your turn. What'd you finish?
Shoot, I just started like
okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I've got it's good. I just put it down. So what I literally just finished is sewing on the second arm of this guy.
Or this rather.
Yeah. So this is the arm I just sewed on, and I'm leaving it like that. That is just magnificent. So yesterday I taught a class, the No Fun Like Gnome Fun class, and that is a pattern with 3 sizes. And when I do it, we do the biggest size, which sounds counterintuitive, but it's a 3-hour class. This is not a 3-hour gnome, but it's a 3-hour gnome with teaching, as long as you leave one arm off. So I left one arm off yesterday, and I thought if I sat down, and I mean, it's a 3-stitch I-cord for a total of 8 rounds. I figured if I could not get this done in this podcast as an FO, there was something deeply wrong with what was going on. So Noah is one of my favorites. He's this small in worsted. In fingering weight, well, he's smaller, but I don't have his fingering weight size with me. I've got Naomi is also from that pattern, and her fingering weight size is either this if I'm relaxed, or like this if I'm tense. So Noah's really small, and he's really charming. And so I finished that as part of class. And so that's what I just whipped up. But I can transit. I probably have more FOs than you, Katie. I have
as usual
5. So I will talk about something very related to this. I also taught a No Fun Like Gnome Fun class for somebody called Cindy Hallam, who runs like really interesting online knitting events for people with sort of more high-end, high touch customer service. I think you get a swag bag. She pulls in 4 pretty well-known designers, and they do, I don't remember if it's every other week or how it works. They do pretty interesting talks and workshops and stuff. So she and I talked back and forth, and we decided to take Noah And I whipped up something that's exclusive to her for this season, but as of next year, I can teach other people. I gave her an exclusive version of Noah where we Santified him. And so he's a little different.
So perfectly round in the body for Santa, right?
Yeah. And he's just so charming. And yeah, we just did a few things to make him a little more Saint Nick like. So I did one in class, and then I had, every time I prep for a No Fun Like Gnome Fun class, I bank on being able to teach the whole gnome in the class. But in case I can't, I actually prep like certain steps already ready, so that if it's like, sometimes people need me to teach one step over and over and over and over, and I tell other people to keep knitting. And then when we're kind of done that, at some point I'm like, and now I'm jumping to the next step. And then that way they see everything that I need to teach them, but I don't necessarily have time to knit it all. So then I pretty much get 2 Noahs out of every class, which I love. So I have knit a lot of Noahs. So I have 2 Saint Noahs here. And so those are 2, I'm counting these as 2 FOs out of my 5.
Okay.
If you're needing to like figure out how we bounce back and forth. So I'm bouncing to you.
Oh, okay. I only have one more thing.
Do you want me to do one more then?
What?
Should I do one more then? Because I have 3.
Do one more.
Okay.
Do one more.
I will not do a gnome, just to
change it up.
I finished a pair of socks. I'm only going to show you one today because it's easier. So I'm making boot socks for the family, and this is boot sock number 2. If you're looking, I love it. Let's see if I do this. Yeah, I don't want to block my voice to the microphone though. All right, so I did this one slightly different than the one I worked up for Sandra. I did a little bit different length and spacing of the 2 stripes here in the cuff, but the concept is basically the same. It's Knit Picks Stroll Tweed, yarn of the year, or yarn of the 2 years. This might, who knows, maybe this is the decade. Maybe the 20s are the Tweety decade.
I am happy with that.
The Tweeties.
Oh gosh.
Instead of the 20s. No. So this is Flagstone Heather, which will be familiar to everybody who's been listening to us recently, because Katie is also knitting out of Flagstone Heather. And then this is, I believe, Dove Heather, but it's one of the leftovers from the Sockhead hats that you handed me. And there's like 3 very pale versions of this color, or of the line of yarn, and I'm not sure which exactly it is. It's not quite white. It's a bit of a grimy color. Like if you were to see it, you might go, oh, are those really old dirty socks that have been washed too much with jeans? But no. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying compared to the other pale colors I have, which either go kind of a whiter white, or there's one color that I got that's kind of a pinker white. This one in the middle is just kind of like, it's just pale and a little bit gray. So I think it's the Dove. And so, yeah, I did both and blocked them. I actually blocked. So if you look at the sock that's not on the blocker, it kind of still looks pretty good, because I like to block gifts. I think gift socks should look, because socks don't really make a good impression unblocked.
Yeah. Oh, somebody says that they're
this way and then they go left.
Judy's using Stroll Tweed for Christmas gnome this year. Nice.
Oh my goodness. I really want a Tweedy Nova so much. Good idea, Judy.
Speaking of Flagstone Heather, here's my other FO. Oh, you're not done?
No. I'm just, I was doing the speaking of, and then I was doing like a dumb face.
So I still haven't woven in the ends, but here is my dark side cowl. I think it fits very well. I haven't worn it yet because I haven't woven in these ends. It's possibly a little snug, but I'm also assuming that it will start to give a little bit. So I added the front bit and the back bit just because it would make it work a little bit better for jackets. I like how high it comes. It will work okay with my glasses. They will fog up. They are fogging up. But yeah, so this is done. And actually now that I'm putting it on, and now that it's like, winter took a while to like actually get here. And now that it's actually here, it's heckin' cold.
Yes.
Yeah. And Barb, exactly. And I need this now because it's -17, feeling like -20 something. And I wait for the bus on a very, very, very windy spot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to work really, really well with my parka too. I've already pulled the parka out. But the way the parka neck goes is I can either put up the hood and zip it up all the way, or zip it as high as I can and then it falls and it's to here. And there's something about the way I wear my big scarves where there's just a gap right there. And I know that's not pleasant. So this will be perfect. So here's a little bit more of the stitch detail.
Just make sure to hold still when you do that.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a really simple kind of stepped ladder using knits and purls. That's it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I did knit that once upon a time at some point. There was when the kids were littler, we went through a lot of socks and cowls and, well, not socks and cowls, sorry. Cowls and mitts and hats, just trying to keep everybody warm. And, when they're in the age where they do a lot of like jumping through snowbanks and making snowballs and just sort of rolling around in the snow, things get lost or they just kind of get used up, and they also grew. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I did a dark side, but it was probably pre-Ravelry. And so I don't think I have the project page or anything like that, but it's a nice one.
Somebody is saying that they added that to a store-bought gaiter. That's a really great idea.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, I have my monitors at a weird angle, so to actually read the writing well, I have to kind of duck a bit.
It's like you're reading it on another screen is the vibe I keep getting.
I know. I have a new stand for my laptop. Oh, hey, sweet. Okay. I have a new stand for my laptop, and my work laptop and my personal laptop do very different things on it.
Oh, speaking of computer issues, if anyone knows how to change how big the camera is on Zoom, I'd love to know. I'd like to have it like this much tighter. That would be great.
I don't know if you can.
Because I feel like it's like almost fisheye. Like I feel like that's a lot of my room you can see. And
yes, but we can also see all the gnomes.
Yeah, but if we did this, I'd just move the gnomes over a little, or something.
Yeah. What else do you have finished?
All right, so I finished this glorious chunky cable. So this is the Chai hat by Claire Devine, who is Knit Share Love on Instagram. And my yarn, despite being identical yardage per 100 grams, is an absolutely shockingly different stitch and row gauge. In particular, the row gauge is so different. Like I think I have one fewer cable crossing in here.
Oh wow!
Level of different. And this brim is definitely like a lot. Like that is a lot more wide cable.
Yeah.
But I didn't really realize what was happening till I got to about here, and it was like, and now repeat the 24 round cable again. I'm like,
no.
But no, that's
it looks great though.
Yeah. I've got my hair in a little barrette, so I'm not going to put it on. I do want to put a
bubble. No. Yeah.
On it. I've got some fake fur ones. And I used up almost 2 balls, like 1.7 balls of Valley Yarns Superwash Bulky. And it is so plump and so resistant. Like it was the most like I don't know how to describe it. It was like working with it, like there was no compression, there was no whatever, like every stitch felt like, because I was knitting it on fairly small needles to try to like get to the gauge that I knew I needed. I went down a size, like this is the smallest size on the hat. So I did that math, like I figured that out. But yeah, I just did not expect it to be so like so different given that the yardage was the same, but the designer's yarn was 100% alpaca, which just is different than merino. And this one must be spun somehow that just makes it, it's like, like a sisal rope, old fashioned rope that's like, hello, I'm the stiff rope that your dad uses to tie the canoe to the Volvo. Like, it was just like, so like, I am knitting now. And I'm really glad to say that when I washed it, it softened up a lot. And it didn't feel like that. Like this didn't feel like rope or like gross unblocked. It just felt like really
tense,
firm, tense. Yeah. So it's a little softer, a little more relaxed now, which is good because it was like, it had a real like hefty body, like resistance to it.
Interesting.
So that was fun to work up though.
Yeah. Are you done with FOs? I feel like you have one more. It's so cute.
So this is Norwin, my November Gnome of the Year entry. And
what is that on the side?
She has decorations, like sprinkles on an ice cream cone. Her story is that she was an ice cream wizard, basically.
Hence the mitts.
Which is why she needed mittens, because she worked somewhere so cold. And and she sort of has the cone and then a little bit of an ice cream shaped body. Like it's and it's funny. I kind of psych myself out when I am knitting for myself and designing. Every time I make a decision, it makes logical sense to me, and I'm just problem solving, and I'm problem solving like one problem at a time, and it seems really logical and clear. But when I go to knit my own patterns or other people's patterns, and it's like all these words, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's all the words, all the abbreviations. This is going to be a thing, people. And so I got to the mittens part, and I was like, oh, I remember people complaining about these mittens being fiddly, and I'm just wondering about all this. And I was like, ooh, I don't know. But I remember also thinking, oh, I did a really good job of figuring out how to make teeny tiny mittens look realistic with actually fairly little fuss. And so I started knitting. I'm like, oh yeah, Sarah, like you did right. You did good. But man, just reading, like seeing that coming in the pattern, I was like, oh,
right.
Oh. So, yeah, she is marvelous. I am just so happy with how she is. She's so different than the other version in terms of color family. The other one was kind of like a waffle cone and icy blue. And so it was just such a different look.
She looks so good in those colors. And I love those braids. They stand out so well with all of that coloring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this pattern, rather than braiding yarn, we do a cabled braid, and just so if you cast on like 9 stitches and do 3 stitches in each, it actually makes it look like a real human braid.
Oh, very cool.
There's no edging on it or anything. It's just a cable. That's all it is. And I was like, I think this will work. And then I knit it, and it did work. And I was like, I'm so clever.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah. So that is the final project I finished this month. And that actually makes me feel pretty good. I was feeling like, oh, I haven't got a lot done lately. That I, like that feels big. Part of it because I have another, like my sweaters stalled for a really long time, my red cabled one, and the other stuff. And then when I realized that, because I was digging around, making sure that I looked in every project bag basically, and I found all those Santa gnomes. I was like, oh, no, I did a lot more.
There you go.
Good job, Sarah. You've been busy.
You have been very busy. And speaking of busy, Barb has a question in the chat. Are you going to be doing a year of gnomes next year?
Not in 2023. We are taking a minimum 12-month break, but doing other fun things. But the year of gnomes turned out to be far more popular and far more work than I was anticipating. I was thinking it was going to be me knitting 12 gnomes and chatting about it on Instagram. And then I thought, oh, I should probably tell people ahead of time. And so I thought, well, maybe like 100 people will do it consistently, but mostly people will just be dipping in and out. And instead, there's been like 1,000+ gnomes every single month entered officially, but many people do multiple gnomes per month, and many people don't enter at all. They just talk about it. And so the actual amount of conversation and gnomes being knit is just enormous. It's been amazing. I mean, we're talking like a minimum of 12,000 official gnomes. And I like the fact that my life, I get to use the word like official gnomes, because there are unofficial gnomes out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, I need a break.
Yeah.
But we will be doing things like the Grimblewoods collection from Jimmy Beans. The rights to those revert back to me. And in February, we will be kicking off a Grimblewoods kind of knit along, and the patterns will be available both individually and as a collection, but they won't be released all at once. So I'll kind of do like, my plan is to do like release 2, wait a couple weeks, release 2, wait a couple weeks, release the last 2. And that way you always have choice.
Yeah.
And you don't have to knit all 6. And I don't know what the actual knit along is going to look like. I have
time.
A meeting with myself. And I haven't had time to schedule a meeting with me because I don't have availability.
It's important to put things in our own calendars.
Yes. Like this thing needs to be in my calendar more often, because
I forgot about it.
I scheduled a few months, and then I didn't schedule December, which is why I forgot that there would be a conflict with this class. I still would have taught the class, but I would have like been better at realizing, oh, we need to tell people that there's a conflict. It wouldn't have been such a surprise. I still would have done it though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to take a sip of tea, and then are we going to talk about, why don't I talk about the project that I've been working on and that I've probably abandoned?
Oh.
This is planned. This is planned abandonment. We've talked about this.
So you're like an stepmother of knitting?
Maybe, yes. So you've been knitting a litmus cowl.
Yes.
Which I quite like.
We showed that, right?
I feel like we showed that last month. Did you finish that last month?
Definitely done in October.
Yeah, I feel like you've shown it. So I needed something to cast on and also needed to stash dive, and so combined that. And so I decided to cast on one just to have like miles of stockinette to do, just to lose myself in. Oh, and so I'm going to start by showing you the stripes, which are for sure collegiate.
Is that gray or yellow?
It is taupe. I feel like it's definitely like it's a yellowish brown.
Okay.
And then this blue, it's not coming through very well on the camera. I've got the blind in front of me closed and it's still blowing out. There's some lovely, like this is periwinkle with some purple in it. This is really quite lovely.
Oh yeah, it looks a lot more like sky blue from here.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some more variation to it than is showing up. And these are both by Fireweed Fiber Arts, and they were made to go with this color here in the middle.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and this is the Julon True set from the Star Trek Yarn Club. And then this darker one here is from Leo and Roxy and their yarn set that I did last year.
Oh, I bet that's the TARDIS one. Is that the TARDIS one?
It's, yeah, it's called Who Are You? So my plan was to just knit this, and then I'm going to alternate these ones until I'm done and then seam them together. But I might actually cut it here and just have one stripe of this to make it interesting. But you were curious about how these would work together. And again, they're blowing out. I don't know how to make that different. But there are
sometimes if you rotate it so the light source hits it differently.
Yeah, there are like this is one yarn and that's another. Like there are still a lot of similarities in the lighter parts of the darker yarn.
Yeah.
And then the darker yarn is just darker. But if we look on this side, like look at this. There's some lighter blues, and it's again, it's not coming through very well, but there are some of this almost this taupe in here, and then there's some in this one too. So this one honestly was just I need a project to work on project with the plan of abandoning it when yarn for the Litmus cowl that I'm currently working on came in. Why don't you talk about things?
All right. So I currently have 3 pairs of socks on the go.
Just wait, before you get into it, Judy, we have been on a collegiate kick lately, but the thing is neither one of us particularly loves the look.
Yeah, we don't. So we're not aiming for that.
It's been unintentional entirely. But you're right.
Yes.
Oh, and somebody else said that they only joined Barb, you only joined the Gnome Year of Gnomes this month. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh no, the Christmas one.
She's doing the Christmas one. So a lot of people have like sort of heard about Year of Gnomes for the first time now, and I'm feeling a little bad occasionally, but only like a little tiny flare. Like, you know, when you strike a match and then it just fizzles out. Like
you've been talking about it a lot. Yeah.
I'm good. Also, you always want to leave people wanting more, right? Like a lot of people who are in this right now are pretty sure they want it to continue, but I'm pretty sure that if we actually continued by March, a lot fewer people would be thinking that it was a great idea to keep going. Because I've done that to myself in my own knit-alongs or in other big knit-alongs where I've like, it's the best, but it was the best because it was like, it had a rhythm and timing and a kind of an end to it. And so we'll do it, we'll take a break, we'll do it, but there will be more Year of Gnomes in my world because it's been so much fun. The other thing too is if we wait at least a year, there will be more gnome patterns to knit. And so it may be that everybody who so the reason I did it was because there were 12 gnome patterns at the end of 2021. And so I re-knit all 12 of those using a unified color palette. Well, I think if we wait a year, because of patterns coming back to me and a couple other things, there may be 12 more patterns, either not necessarily like at the end of the year, but like occurring in 2024 kind of a deal. Amazing. So yeah, so it could be that people do like a totally new Year of Gnomes.
Yeah.
So yeah. Genova is your first. That's like, oh, is Genova where what's that Princess Diaries? Is Genova the I think autocorrect is giving you a Princess Bride, not Princess Bride.
Princess Diaries.
Diaries gnome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So I have 3 pairs of socks on the go. So 2 of them are very purposeful. One of them was situational. So the first one that I cast on is the Sockmas cowl. So I'm taking part in Nitty Natty's Sockmas, and it is a free knit along, but I also paid for the like higher tier because there's online events and it's been kind of fun to do for those. And so I have finished 1 sock. We have 3 weeks to knit a pair. So this is area 51.
Very interesting set of colors. Which one? Sorry?
Let It Snow, area 51. So I kind of like, in the 60s, they went through that phase, you know, where they did silver and pink tinsel trees.
Yeah.
There was kind of like this weird Christmas time where aqua and diner red kind of were Christmas colors. That's the vibe I get from this at the very least. So I haven't knit a lot with Area 51. She's actually local to us in a Canadian prairie sense. So she's in Regina, which is 1 province over. But I mean, like that's not even a day of driving, not even like a work day of driving. Like you could have brunch and get there.
I was gonna say it's like, what is it, 7 hours away?
I think for me, you, but not for me. So like, yeah that's nothing.
To the degree of Canada, that's local. Yeah, there you go.
So this is only the second time I've knit with her yarn because the other time I knit with it was yarn my mom or our mom gave Matthias.
For you to knit into socks.
For me to knit into socks. So I did that. I like this base. It's a little toothy. So it's not as like flopsy merino as some superwash yarns can be. It's got that little bit of, I'm not saying it's like opal or regia, which can be like, that's not toothy. That's like saber toothy. This is just a bit toothy. There have been some good, this was an audio podcast. We'd have some really good.
Thinking. You've been said some really great titles for our audio podcast.
Okay. So the way I've started doing self-striping yarn, if I'm not doing a contrasting heel and toe or cuff, like if I'm not doing that, what I do is I knit till the end of a stripe, and then I grab the yarn from the other end of the ball. So I cut the yarn and I join yarn from the other end of the cake. And then I knit the heel flap and turn. And then when I rejoin the yarn, there are a couple of stripes that are maybe one round thinner.
Yeah.
And on the top of your foot, when you look at that, your brain's just like an uninterrupted stripe sequence. That sock just works. Even though they're actually thinner for a little bit, your brain's not really focusing on that so much. Whereas if you change the stripe there, it really does change things.
That's a really great hourglass sock, Sarah.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just like doing this very weird, very like sucked in toe flap. So I'm on the second one, and I was knitting this last night. We went to friends of ours, their son was in the musical Anastasia for high school, and it was a bit longer than I expected. And even though I was only maybe like here when we went in, I got past the second intermission and I started going squinting in the dark. It was very dark. I was like, I think I only had 3 red stripes on that first sock. So I actually spent a fair amount of, like, I would say at least 45 minutes not knitting, which that's like, what am I doing with myself? I'm like just sitting in the seat trying to be cool. I was not cool. So I am almost at the second heel. I think I just have to finish this blue, and then I'm doing the second heel. So that's one of my socks on the go. How many more works in progress do you have?
Phew.
Okay, I have.
And then I also have yarn to show.
Okay, I have 3. So we can bounce back and forth and be nice.
Okay. So here is, I'm going to hold off on my last lip on my current lipless cowl. This is the Musselburgh in, what is this? Graphite Gray from Allison Barnes Yarn. And then this is Cloud9 Fiber Arts in Confetti Cake.
Wow.
And this is the one that I cast on from the opposite side that I didn't like the way it was working. Now, what you can't see, again, because everything is blowing out, there's actually a lot more colors in here.
Okay.
So it's more like a rainbow than just like blue and red flame.
Okay.
There's purple in here, and yeah, really nice colors. I like the way it looks when I look at it, but the way it looks on screen makes me feel like a 1980s video game.
I was thinking hot rods from the Sears toy catalog.
Yes, very yes. Dang it.
But that's just on screen. You don't live on screen. You live in human world.
Usually, yes. So I am at the point now where I think I just have a few inches left to do, and then I do the decreases. Now, what I am impressed with is this is like, there's almost no break to this, right? Like it just starts with a spiral and just keeps going. There's one part where it seemed to do a little bit of a jag right there, which you wouldn't see if I wouldn't point it out to you.
Just a little headed left.
Yeah, just a bit. And that's it. And so I'm really quite happy with the way that's turned out. Pac-Man. Yeah, definitely some Pac-Man coloring too. Now the way that I did, where I put the dividing line, I'm not actually sure if it's, I think there'll be a little bit more of this color. It won't be completely even because I forgot, basically you do an increase and then you knit forever. And then when you get to the forever point, you do the decreases. And I use the number at the forever point to divide that one in 2 to put this in.
Oh.
So, there will be this much more of the confetti cake than there will be of the gray.
That means when you flip it to the gray side, you won't have all gray.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Totally fine.
Okay. Hooray.
Yeah. And as you can see, so here's a bunch of stitch markers. And what I've done is actually, as I put the stitch markers in here, I decided that I'm just going to leave them. And then as I do the decreases, I'll just pull them out. And so I'll know when I'm done.
It's a good way to track. I think it's Crazy Sock Lady. She does stitch markers every 10 or 20 rounds. And then when she knits her second sock, she takes them off the first sock. And when she's out of markers, she knows it's time to do the heel. She knows it's time to do the toe, right?
Yeah. So here you can see a little bit more of the colors in there.
Yeah, I can definitely see the green and the orange and the yellow.
Yeah. There's a lovely purple that does definitely get lost in all of it. But yeah, so that's the other thing. Again, with the miles of stockinette.
Yeah, it's part of why I've got this project that I'm working on right now on the go. This is the unplanned sock. This is the situational sock. This is the Sarah, let's go to see Wakanda Forever sock.
Yep.
So I had advance warning. I knew it was going to be a Thursday, and we talked about it on Tuesday. So Wednesday, I did the cuff. And then I worked on this. This is amazing. I am being a very generous knitter and not casting this on in the stitch count for myself. These are for Reiner. Because I checked and I have done 6 socks for him this year, and I want to do 7. Plus, I don't have Christmas socks for him yet, and he loves Christmas socks. Like our family, partly from the Mr. Bean Christmas special, Christmas socks. Yeah, with Teddy and everything. It's partly the fact that we can quote that, but it's also because my family truly believes that hand knit is love, and they know, like, so it's a big deal, and I love to be able to give him socks every Christmas. I don't even know how long it's been since I haven't. Like, I actually don't know. Is it a decade? I feel like it's a serious thing, and I don't currently have a pair. Usually at some point in the summer, I'll just cast something on, work on it, not tell him whose it's for, set them aside, and then I'll just pull them out. And I have not done that this year. So they are situational, but now that they're on the needles, they're certainly required.
What is that yarn?
It's Vegas Baby from Knit Picks. It's one of their.
I was wondering if it was Knit Picks. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually cast on more stitches than usual for this. I think I've tightened up a little bit in the last year or two. And so I think I'm going to cast on more stitches for some of my socks, especially for the ones on thinner yarn. So I find that the Felici does not have a lot of heft to it, and it compresses a fair amount. So I cast on 4 extra stitches. I mean, I'm not doing a lot. I want to, it's a hypothesis at this point that I need to test rather than just go like hog wild and cast on like an inch's worth of extra stitches. I don't think I've tightened up gauge that much at all.
Jen has a good question here. Is that muted rainbow like Christmas lights at dusk on a rainy night?
Yes.
Or is it just the screen? Yeah.
No, it's really like the best dirty rainbow.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And Judy, flashing and pooling are also anxiety inducing for me. The reason why this worked in like emotionally is because since I cast on from here, I made the decision that if I hated the way this was working, I would rip it out and knit the whole hat in gray because I have enough yarn. And so also like with this litmus, sometimes I just need to knit. And I'm learning that maybe I need to learn to let go of my knits a little bit more. And maybe, you know, if I knit a hat that flashes and pulls in a way that I don't like, maybe somebody else loves it. Maybe I don't particularly love the way this litmus looks. I actually like the way that it looks other than that collegiate bit. And then I give it to somebody, you know? And so, but yeah, flashing and pooling definitely make me a little, I don't always love it.
I never.
Well, but this,
I'm going to say, Katie, I wasn't sure if I was talking about, I'm not loving that. And I'm not loving your litmus, but I love it for you if you love it. And that's like a big thing, but I could not with either of those. Just a big
I love it.
And it's so funny because people keep asking me for advice with the gnomes, right? With the mystery gnomes, which is clear. It's my job to give color advice.
Yeah.
And every single thing I talk about, I don't think there's been a gnome yet where I haven't said, I advise solids and semi-solids or super subtly speckled yarn. And I always feel funny because the number one question that I get is, I love this variegated. What else should I put with it? And I'm like, I don't know, because I don't have your taste. I don't know how to handle you. You're
nice
attracted to
neutrals.
gnomes. Yeah. You're attracted to me. My gnomes, I assume because of my aesthetic. I think that's part of like when you hit with a designer, right?
Yeah.
You often
There's
hit with
something
them
about the
because
aesthetic.
their photography and their styling and their color choice hits with you. And I'm like, so I did tell you what I needed you to do to get the vibe I got. So you're not doing that. But now you're asking me for advice that I don't have a lot of experience with. And I particularly don't know what you will like, because I would not have picked those 5 colors, especially with one of them being variegated. And so I don't know how to help you except to assume that you've picked them because you like them and try to do my best with what I know and the secret knowledge. But it's funny because it's like the number one thing people keep, and I will pull up the completed gnome. I will pull up my sketches. I will pull up my dyer's advice that I gave, and I will sit there and I will just be like, so maybe C3.
Yeah.
Okay, we could do that. And then squinting. Okay. Oh, so
do
okay.
the thing
Yeah.
like back in the day when 3D eye things were really a big thing, like just kind of like do that with your eyes. I will say, just because I'm okay with this, like it's more like I don't hate this, right? Like this is not my usual aesthetic.
I think part of the problem is that because you've got that like impressionist side, and then you've got this is just a color side. There's like the vibes are like, it's like two straight, you see those like guess who came home for dinner, kind of like two strangers who don't get along, and then they, where they set people up for blind dates for suppers, and like they're on the opposite ends of the political spectrum. I feel like your litmus cowl right now is like a social experiment.
Well, and I think that's why like I will likely get rid of this for sure, if not also this, right? Because like this is very like Monet water, particularly the Julan True one, very Monet water. But yeah, it's
yeah, and Judy's saying that gnomes are so small, it's hard to predict what will happen with the variegated. They change dimensions so extraordinarily that like, and some gnomes it might work if, for instance, this one wasn't cabled, right? Because the diameter doesn't change a lot. But there are some gnomes where even just on the body, like that's a huge size difference because he's circular, it's, and I don't like flashing and I don't like pooling. So there are some variegateds that would work for some parts of some gnomes, but man, that's I don't have the yarn in front of me. Often people don't open up the skein, so I don't know how big the stretches are. It's tricky.
Are we on you?
I don't think so.
No, I think you did the thing. That's a lovely comment, Erica.
Thank you. Yeah.
So the only other thing that I've got on the needles right now is a litmus cowl. In Knit Picks Chroma, which is a single.
Wait. Hang on, because I have 2 more. Did I miscount? Okay, you talk and then we'll just go.
Because I still have the yarn, right?
Right. Okay.
So this is Knit Picks Chroma, which is a single, which I'm not a big fan of. And I am doing it. Sorry?
I love Chroma, both worsted and fingering is so plump. And
yes, I like the plumpness of it, but I don't like the fact that it's a single. Like when I split it, it feels like scratching teeth. So I'm knitting this in the Pegasus colorway and the Wednesday colorway. Wednesday is just a gradient. So it's all like from a dark gray to a light gray. And Pegasus is not. So again, with it blowing out a little bit, this is actually quite a dark fuchsia. So purple infused pink, and then into a purple. And then here we're starting to get a smidge of teal. There's a little bit teal over there. And then it goes to very bright green. That's a better way to see it.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I really love this, the way this is working up too. And I will say I had a little bit of a setback. I did the thing that you and I normally do where you do 2 regular knots and do the yarn. I got about this far and I looked down and all of my knots have come undone because this yarn doesn't have enough grip.
Yeah.
So I had to undo everything back to here. And then what I'm doing now is, I still need to weave in the one end, but I'm just pulling it up the inside and catching it every once in a while.
Yeah.
And that's what's working. Now I did tie together the other stuff because I didn't want to lose that yarn. And so far, none of these things are pulling out. And for that, I just did, I don't know the names of knots.
A double, like the kindergarten tie your shoe knot.
No. I did,
I think that's an overhand.
that one where like, if you leave this one in, it's a slip, like you can pull it out.
Yeah. I think that's the overhand. I have to look it up every time I write not something in my gnomes. I'm like,
but I love the way this is working.
yes.
And you'll notice that both of these are on needles. And they are, nope, both of these are on needles, both of my litmuses, and they are the same color because when I went to buy 12, 16-inch circs, I just bought 2, knowing that I would be abandoning the one and working on this one. So this is part of a Knit Picks. Sorry?
I love that litmus. I have some Knit Picks chroma hanging out in my stash. That might be a thing.
And I will say, Knit Picks with chroma, when they first came out with it, they didn't do this, but they now have a number of different solids in the chroma base, so that if you only want one gradient, you only need to use one gradient, but you're still getting the same base. And I do love that quite a bit.
Yeah, they've got like a black, a white.
I think there's a red even in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's quite nice. Yeah. So this is just kind of trucking along. I started it last weekend and then had to redo it midweek.
Oh, that's still a lot of knitting. That's great.
Yeah. And the 16-inch circs are just perfect for it. It's like the 9-inch circs for socks.
Yeah.
Round and around and around every 4-ish rows. I catch the yarn on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that kind of knitting. So something I can't knit for around and around and around. This is going to be my cozy Advent 24 stripe Advent sock thing. So if you are in that and are not looking yet, this is your warning. I'm about to pull up my socks. It's so funny. I'm watching the sock lady. The crazy sock lady. And she's doing it too, but apparently she wound up her yarn in the opposite direction because I'm seeing colors I'm not knitting with. And I'm like,
oh no,
I don't know. Should I stop watching her Vlogmas? Because I really like watching her Vlogmas, but it's like, oh, it's the other end of the spectrum. I don't know what to do.
That's
anyway,
really
so
too
here we
bad.
go. So I have 2 socks sticking out of this paper gift bag because my friend my friend Ellen has her son wind the yarn for us, and she puts it, or he puts it, I'm not totally sure, in this bag, and then it comes with a little string from a totally separate yarn. She ties it onto each end, and then there's just a little sticker tab that says pull. So when you pull on it, it pulls both ends, and it, like, there's a simultaneous color reveal on day 1. And then I keep it in, and it's all like taped shut. Like I can't get in there. I'd have to rip the bag to peek.
Yeah.
So these are the 4 colors for the 4 days of December so far. And there is a fairly frequent pairing of a reddish and a greenish color as you go through the 24 days, so that they do look a little more Christmassy than usual. But honestly, because there's 24 different colors, if you didn't tell someone these are my Advent socks, I'm not sure the average person would identify these as a Christmas set. So much so that the fact that these are the majority of my Christmas sock, like
what you wear in the month,
when I look down at my feet, I don't necessarily feel like those are festive feet. I feel like those are feet that remember past Advents. Like it's like a memory thing as opposed to an aesthetic thing. Which I don't know that is a problem, but it's definitely interesting when I go to my drawer and I'm like, oh, I only have one green and red pair.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. I should fix that.
Knit, Tink, Learn, Repeat said that the Crazy Sock Lady's redone the socks to go the right way.
Oh,
so you should be safe going forward.
Thank you. I can go back in. All right. Phew. I wonder if she got comments because I wasn't sure what, like, I was like, this is, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
so
should I show some yarn?
You show yarn and then I have one more thing.
Okay. So when I finished knitting Sarah before I wore it, I loved it so much that I threw a sweater's worth of a yellow I'd never seen in my life before into a group Knit Picks order to take advantage of their big sale. Now, if you listen to us, you'll remember that I have knit fingering weight podsters out of Knit Picks new base twill. They are also it's also available at worsted weight. And this is called the Gold Rush. Again, it's blowing out. There's way more kind of mustardy to this. Let's see. Better.
It's like a honey, actually, more than a mustard. Don't you think?
It is not in person.
No. Okay.
This is definitely more on the more on the orangey, but not orange side of yellow. Nope, none of this is working. Anyway, it's gorgeous. And will actually work for me because it's not too buttery. And it's got just this lovely plumpness to the yarn itself.
As long as your face is in it, it's going to preferentially focus on your face.
I know. I'm trying here.
If you cover your face up, usually that's what works.
Does that work? Anyway, it's squishy and it's lovely. And it is a really great color that I think will look good on me. And now that you're wearing your September Morn, and I've talked about loving that for a while, and it's in worsted and this is in worsted.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I do. But taking the white ball band off, help? Nope. Nope. I am so heckin' pale. All right. Anyway, it's gorgeous. So this was not a planned part of my purchase. I threw it on right towards the end of the group ordering time because Raylene, the person who was facilitating, is absolutely the person who's like, why not just throw it on? It's a sale. Plus you get the 10+ game discount. Just do it. And so I did it. And I don't have any regrets. Especially because it's beautiful. Like this is we'll bring it home. I'll try to take some pictures that show the color. Yeah, it's like a warm
pictures accurate.
Sorry?
Are the website pictures accurate?
Well, but here's the thing. There was remember the purple rayoon that I made? And the yarn looked accurate on my screen and the yarn looked like Hamburglar on your screen.
Oh man.
So
all right. There's
yeah,
no hope for any of us.
No,
everyone.
It's a beautiful color.
It's
kind of like a warm amber, I'd say, more than anything.
Yeah.
So, and then I have one more yarn to show, but that's the end of my stuff. So you go.
Okay. So I said that every time I knit a Noah class, I have a Noah on the side just in case. And I did this one. And just for fun, excuse me, I put an extra plain round in between the increases on his hat. Just
yeah.
So it's the same width of stitches. It's just taller. And then I did the body identically, but I added in a single round stripe of gray. So the body is not a different stitch count or anything. I think I'm just maybe a little more relaxed in this version than that version. Yeah, usually when I knit during class, because I also have the phone to show my hands here, it's like hard for me to see and I get real tense about like hitting the phone and like it's a little more cramped. So I think so anyways, I'd like to finish this kind of Santa Grinch kind of a gnome. So that won't take too long because it's at the point where all I need to do is stuff it and do decreases and then the beard and the arms, which that's like 45 minutes worth of work. So, but not finished. So
should I show my yarn?
Yeah.
So again, if you listen to us, you'll know that our Imagine Knitting Cal is coming up. We should also tell these people about our Imagine Knitting Cal. So this is something that we run every year. The start date has shifted a little bit as we've gone, but I think we're in our 4th year of doing this one, and we seem to have settled. So it starts on December 24th, and it ends on the last day of March, which I believe is the 31st. I should know how many days there are in March by now, but anyway. And the whole thing about the Imagine Knitting Cal is to knit something that you've been, or weave, or crochet. No, not weave. Knit or crochet.
We've let weaving in.
We do weaving. Okay, you made a face. So basically, stop dreaming about something and just do it. So it could be a technique, it could be a particular yarn, it could be a particular pattern, it could be an item of a thing that you've been dreaming about. And then everybody can knit as many things or craft as many things as they want, but everybody only gets one entry for the final prizes, which this year we're doing, I think we did this last year as well, we're doing via Google form. So it is inclusive of people who are unable to use Ravelry. You'll need to provide a link to either your Instagram post with your FO or your Ravelry project page with the FO in it. And in your submission, we want you to tell us what made this particularly something that you were craving and imagining. But you can things as you want and use the hashtag. You can not craft if you want and just use the hashtag and still get entered for chatter prizes. We do those throughout the month.
Yeah, as long as you're chatting about the thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't just throw it in every Instagram post.
Yeah, definitely. We want you to be participating meaningfully. Because this is a really great community thing too. Like, people really get into it. If you're interested in donating a prize, there's some information about that on Sarah's website as well. And that's how you can actually sign up to donate a prize too. And so today is Sunday. On Monday, Sarah and I will be recording our audio podcast. I will edit it on Tuesday and it will go out on Wednesday. And we have agreed that we will talk about our projects, plans, and or lack of plans in one person's case. Tomorrow.
I will agree that I have vague intentions. I have a lot of hopes and dreams, but I do not have a lot of specific intentions. So I will agree to discuss my vague hopes.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's awesome too, right? Like,
usually I'm so clear and I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing and I've swatched it already. And like, I'm on this. And this time I'm like, I don't know, I'm probably going to knit some things because I don't crochet.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. But
now, I forget, I think it's Nilse on Instagram. I'm just confusing two Instagram names in my mind right now, but I'm pretty sure it was Nilse posted something on Instagram that made me go, that's the thing. And so I'm not going to talk about what the thing is, but I will show the yarn. Knit picks. Swish. DK to change it up. In Dove Heather.
Okay, so my sock is not Dove Heather then, I don't think.
It's just a really, really soft gray. Well, that could be it.
It could be. But the tweed, it would change it so much, right? And the difference in lighting.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm so blown out. Anyway, so this is what I will be knitting with. It'll be nice to do in DK. Everything I do seems to be mostly fingering. So that's it. We will, if you want to hear what I'm going to make with it, you gotta listen. You gotta listen in this week.
Same bat channel, same bat knitting.
Except not YouTube.
Yeah, totally different channel.
Totally different channel, but and different, slightly different content. So we are going to talk about Wakanda Forever. Spoiler free.
We're going to talk about that. And I want to talk about at least one board game.
Okay.
So,
what's your last thing? What you got?
Oh, it was that gnome. That was it.
Oh, you're done. Okay. I wasn't sure if you had one more thing.
No.
All right. Everything. Yeah. So different bat channel. Exactly, Judy. Yes. Cheers. Happy December. And tune into the audio. Thanks for everybody who's been here chatting. It really is wonderful to have this live dynamic.
I agree.
I know from what people have said that you often do talk to us during the audio podcast. It's just we can't hear you then.
Yes.
So it's wonderful when you do join us here and put your thoughts in the chat.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you, Katie, for spending some time with me.
Yeah,
Love you.
thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.